This is a Private Investigator Experience podcast, and I'm your host, Phil Little. Talk about the cases and life of a private investigator and what things out around the world from my investigator lens that can and will affect us here in our own communities. I use my military, law enforcement, intelligence service, and global security background, coupled with a big touch of my biblical worldview to apply what's going on in the world from an investigative standpoint, and then looking at the biblical worldview to really find out what it means. And I'm also using the over 50 years of experience that I've had in countries around the world, particularly in the Middle East and the Gulf, understanding the Arab mind. I have both friends in the Arab world as well in the Jewish world in Israel and the Christian world. And I'm grateful for the favor that I've found in all these places. Because at the end of the day, every one of us is created by the true living God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We all have the same colored blood. And I would like everyone in the world to believe like I do and trust the true living God. But he has given us the freedom to choose. So I have to leave a lot of things up to him. But I want to touch on just what's been happening in the last 24, 48 hours. I've got resources out around the world, and they have their ears to the ground. And I am interested in listening to what is happening. You know, a lot of what's going on right now around this latest um, uh, focus by Hamas, whatever we want to call it. And while we accept in principle the release of all the hostages, we just have to negotiate it. Well, the only thing is, President Trump said take it or leave it. Now, there's been some concern I've been hearing in different places, now in the United States from around the world, that President Trump's been very focused on getting the Nobel Peace Prize. He has been nominated by several country leaders, and there's about, I think, 235 or something people who have been nominated by different sources for this year's Nobel Peace Prize, which will come up on the 10th of this month. That's 6 days away. Now, I had a little concern yesterday. The president quickly ordered Israel to stop the bombing, and that he was said he was looking very positively that Hamas was ready to surrender and live in peace. Well, that's not what they said. That's not what they're going to do. And so I was a little concerned. Maybe there was some focus on a peace prize that might be affecting decisions here. Now I've learned from things on the ground, both in Israel here, and then I learned some things out of Oslo, Norway. It's very apparent that the powers that be in the Nobel Peace Prize are not interested in giving the prize to President Trump, no matter what he does, how effective he is. So they were pointing out how he does not represent the history and the purposes of the Nobel Peace Prize. They say he's a figure that is bringing division and nationalism, when their recipient should be one that is bringing the world together and putting the world first. So the 10th is going to be an interesting day. It doesn't appear, though, that it's going to go to President Trump. And then, as I'm hearing today, we're thinking both out of Washington and out around the world, it appears like that President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu are on the same page. And Trump, and they've kind of backed him in a corner here, it looks like, with Hamas. Hamas now said they agreed to the principle of releasing the hostages as in that 20-point plan. Well, that says they have to be released within 72 hours. Israel yesterday, as of last night, pulled back and stopped bombing, which was what they said needed to happen to be able to safely get the hostages out. This is what Hamas said. So now they have maybe counting another 48, 60 hours, whatever might be left on that 72 hours, wherever it starts from. And the president said today, President Trump said that time is short. There's not going to be negotiation or trying to stall or bring on some kind of ongoing negotiation. Now, on the other side of this, Hamas, even as they accepted that first part of that principle of the 20-point peace plan, said that no way are they going to disarm or not be involved in the new government. So that goes against the peace plan. So I suspect, as a lot of other people do, that this is just another ploy to drag things out and see if somehow they can break President Trump's resolve to remove them completely and bring the base of where peace could come about. And as I mentioned in a post yesterday, the precursor of Israel living in peace with their neighbors, which would be unheard of, unthought of, and also be leading up to the precursor of the Ezekiel 38 war. So we need to be alert, conscious of what's going on, and letting our voices be heard, not only to the White House, even though I think right now the White House line to leave comments is not being monitored apparently because of the shutdown, but let your senators, congressmen, and the White House as able, that we want to support Israel, that we want the elimination of Hamas and all evil. And yes, we'd like to see peace in the Middle East with Arab and Jewish, because they're really brothers and sisters. They all come from the line of Abraham. And so we know that there's connection there, but there's also division. And that division is at its root a spiritual one, not a physical one. And so that battle is going on spiritually to divide and conquer. And that's really what's going on in our country. Let's just touch on this. What's this shutdown? What a joke. What a joke that these politicians on the left think that anybody's buying, what they're saying. When they get confronted with what's in that bill that they want, the $1.5 trillion put back in, given to them, and they'll tell you how to spend it. And that also releases funds to go back and pay for illegals, health care, put them in front of citizens. Lefty who was on. So no, that doesn't work. There's another provision that will stop things, even though it says it in there. We've heard that before. And like the newscaster that was interviewing this person said, yes, but there's a way around that. And that's what they're planning on doing in every way. Not only do they want the support for Haiti. Now let's remember this. When this started with Obamacare, it was a smoke and mirrors, because people that got the help and in the payment of their insurance and got a reduction, but at the end of that first year, because I know I had family members and people involved in this, that when the tax bill came up, Obama got you with the taxes. And unless you just had minimum income, you wound up still paying that money back in your tax bill. Then, when the pandemic came, they added in a whole bunch more payouts to help people pay. And some of that was probably legitimate because the stress that everybody was under, but that had an end to it that the Democrats put in, which in that end was ending on December. Now, even though the pandemic's over, we got a new sheriff in town, things going on, the economy's back, and inflation's coming, and there's great hope and expectation. They still want that to continue, just so they can use that as payout to their constituents so that they can try to keep them voting for them and get them back in power. You and I, the American citizens, pay for this for others. And then they found that there are people making $150,000 a year right now that's on those programs that give them thousands of dollars a year off for their insurance. And it's on automobiles. So it's and the Republican Party is willing to negotiate with cutting out some of these fraud things and get a realistic look at what needs to go for subsidies for people that are really in need. And the difference really between the two parties is the Republicans, as a most part, believe in helping people in need, giving them a hand up, not a handout, giving them uh, encourage to work with their hands and make a living, and we'll help you do that, help you get training, and then you can go on, support yourself, and then help others. Where the Democrat approach is total welfare for everybody, give everybody a little bit, let them not have to work, and they're dependent then on the Democratic Party to stay in power to keep these freebies coming. So their hope is that all these people that are on the free welfare with no work would vote for them to keep them in power and really become a one-party government where they control everything. That's not realistic. It's not American. And most of us, fortunately, I think a majority of the people, I have many friends in the Democratic Party, the old Democratic Party, that have left, fleeing, and going elsewhere and shaking their heads at what has happened. Let's keep the politician feet to the fire. No way should any of us support the Republicans giving $1.5 trillion to the radical progressive leftists so they can pour it out in handouts to try to build support. No way. I don't want the government shutdown. but I just saw today, I have some things going on that, that were tied to the government. And actually, they came through ahead of time, even though we have to shut down. God is good. We need to keep ourselves alert, be aware of what's going on, get involved, become your own investigator. There's all kinds of ways you can do that. Don't just listen to one side or if you only listen to CNBC or CNN, you're not going to get the whole truth. Check out the facts and then be willing to step out of the crowd and let your voice be heard. The problem has been with America is that so many of us, the silent majority, those in the middle and to the that believe in smaller government and bigger citizen control because the country was created for a citizen elected government that were responsible to the people and work for the people, not the other way around. So let's get back to that. Let's support the things that are righteous and holy and get the wickedness and evil out of our society and get back to letting people make their more decisions about their lives, have more money in their lives that they can use as they see fit. Leave me your comments. Let me know what you think. Give me your take on what's going to happen here on the 10th of October with the peace prize and what you think about what's going on with Hamas. You can read those on any of the platforms, or you can email me at pi777@gmail.com. Remember, it's up to us in this generation on our watch to make sure that our children and grandchildren live in freedom. If we don't, then our grandchildren and children will only be slaves to a totalitarian government. That's not hyperbole. That is, look at history. Check out history. Don't think what I say. Check it. Find it. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing. Hit that notification bell for future posts. We're going to stay alert, keep our investigative ears to the ground, and hear what's going on around the world and try to put it through the lens of a biblical worldview, which we make decisions that's best for people, not for politicians, and for their power. May God bless you. May God bless your family, and may God bless America. See you next time.